Howdy folks, Spencer here, and today I'm going to be going through and ranking all of the MUDs bundles we have in Star Trek Online as of December 27th, 2022. Now, for those of you not familiar with MUDs bundles, they come in two different types. There are choice packs and there are mega bundles. The choice packs will let you pick 3 of the 6 to 8 items that are in that MUDs bundle, and the mega pack would get you everything that that bundle contains, but at twice the price. So these MUDs bundles are quite expensive. The base cost of them is $300 for a choice pack and $600 for a mega pack, and they routinely go on a 50% sale several times throughout the year, and that takes it down to $150 for the choice pack or $300 for the mega bundles. Now, once in the past, they have run a 75% sale way back in December of 2020. They ran a 75% sale on the bundles for 2 to 3 days, and they have not run that sale ever since. 50% is the best that we have had now in the last 2 years, so that's basically as good as you're going to get. I don't think they're going to run the 75% sale again anytime soon. So the bundles are fairly expensive, and with them being this expensive, it is important to know which ones are good and which ones you should avoid. Chapters are going to be listed down below if you want to skip ahead to my breakdown of any specific MUDs bundle, but before I dive into the first one here, let me just break down how I'm going to be ranking these. The S tier is for the best bundles here. These are bundles that have 4 or more ships and are good enough that you may want to even consider picking up the Mega if you're really splurging on the game. A tier is for bundles that would be a great pick for a choice pack. B tier is ships that are, or for bundles that are not as desirable. So there may not be 3 ships in there that are really worth it, but there's still 2 ships and maybe something like T6 coupons or an epic token that would be able to be justifiable for some people. C tier is for bundles that basically just have one good ship in them, and for the most part, the people going for those bundles are going for them because they want that one specific ship unlocked account wide. And then, of course, the last tier here is for the never buy, for bundles that just really aren't worth it in the current state of the game. So we're going to start off here with Stealing Time, which is a very, very valuable bundle. In fact, I am going to go ahead and, even though there's only 3 ships in this one, it's going to go into S tier. And the reason for that is because it contains, it has 3 ship options in it, but 2 of those ship options then open up into a couple different ships. So the 3 ships are the Amari class Smuggler Heavy Escort, that is a promo ship. The Temporal Science Vessel, a lockbox ship, which then has a Fed, KDF, and Romulan version, all have the same stats, but they're 3 different ships. And why that matters is for those of you looking to acquire more Admiralty cards. So if you pick the Temporal Science Vessel unlock from the SMUDS bundle, you're getting 3 very good science ships that you can then claim on every character on your account over and over again. So you can get 3 really good Science Admiralty cards out of picking up that unlock. And the Temporal Science Vessel is also the top EPG science ship in the game right now. It is what every EPG player is using to set the DPS records in Hive Space Elite. So not only are you getting the best science ship currently in the game, you're also getting 3 really nice Science Admiralty cards for when you're doing Admiralty missions. The Amari is a decent promo ship. It's not the most amazing out there, but it's solid, and it's got a freighter interior, which does make it a bit unique. And the trade-off of it can be useful for some torpedo builds. The console from it would be much more valuable if it could be used on other ships, but unfortunately the console is locked to that ship right now. Hopefully Cryptic can change that in the future. Now, the third ship unlocked from the Stealing Time bundle is the Temporal Destroyers, and Just like the Temporal Science Vessel, this will open up into a Fed, KDF, and Romulan ship. So that's another 3 Admiralty cards. And basically, if you pick the 3 ships from the Stealing Time bundle, you can get 7 Admiralty cards or 7 ships. So you will have 3 science ships that are the same thing, just different skins. 3 of these destroyers that are the same thing, just different skin. But still, it's pretty nice. Now, for the Temporal Destroyer, I know it's not going to be everyone's favorite thing. It's a 4/3, but it is still a very capable platform. Temporal Operative is a very powerful specialization, and this ship makes for a very good beam overload platform. I've been running one on my Fed Sci for quite a while, and it does quite well. 4/3 isn't the most popular thing for sure, but you can still make it work, and it'll do perfectly fine with like a beam overload setup. So Stealing Time, very valuable because you get all of these ships out of it. And for those of you confused as to how to reclaim the ships, once you purchase the bundle, you would go to the C store, go to the Muds Market, go to the ships tab, and those ships would be available for you to reclaim over and over and over again. So you can see here that I can just claim this destroyer box numerous times. And then because I have the cross faction unlock on my account, I can go and open the Romulan and KDF version alongside the Fed one and have all 3 ships in my ship roster. Going back to this, and if you don't want the ships, there is, like if you don't want the Temporal Destroyer, there's T6 coupons that you can get from this, Ultimate Tech upgrades, or an Epic token. I would personally recommend that you get all 3 ships from this bundle, just because that's getting you a lot of Admiralty cards. And the Temporal Destroyer, it's a fun ship to fly. It also has a console on it that you could use alongside the Temporal Science Vessel console if you wanted to mess around with that console set. So that is why that bundle is going to S tier. Next, we have the Muds Faith of the Heart Choice Pack, and this one is going into the Never Buy category. The reason for this is that the NX refit is the main highlight of this bundle, and there's not really much point to get it via this bundle. You see, the 10th anniversary bundle, which is a very popular bundle for people to get, cost about $50 more than what this Muds bundle would cost you, and you're going to get a legendary version of the NX that is going to include the Starship trait and the console that this NX from this Muds bundle would have, and you're getting it on a better ship with a better setup, and you're getting all of the other legendary ships in that 10th anniversary bundle. So the main draw for the Faith of the Heart pack is that NX class refit, and it's a bad deal because if you're spending that type of money on the game, you may as well be getting the 10th anniversary bundle. The Zindi Reptilian Sistress and the Elachi Sateth aren't really anything to write home about. They're not really that notable in the current state of the game. They're both fairly old ships. One's from July of 2017, the other's from December of 2016. They don't have really great spec seating. This Elachi ship, for example, is a 4/3 that has a lieutenant commander pilot and a lieutenant pilot. So essentially, this is a 4/3 pilot ship that doesn't even get pilot maneuvers. So I can't really recommend the Faith of the Heart bundle. And if you did pick it up, I don't even know what ships to really recommend. Like, if you're picking this up, you may as well just go for the 10th, if you're dumping this type of money into the game. And I do want to note here that with any of these Muds bundles, if you're looking to pick up Lobby or Master Keys, never pick the Lobby option, only ever pick keys from any of these Muds bundles. 50 Master Keys will get you on average about 270 Lobby, and you're getting all of the items that you're going to get out of those 50 Master Keys. So never pick the Lobby crystals from any of these Muds bundles. It's a scam. Go for the keys if you are looking at getting Lobby from these bundles. Next up, we have the Choice Pack of Dread, and for this one, we're going to go into A tier with this. So the Choice Pack of Dread gets you the Herc Fed Crid, which is a promo ship, the Tholian Tarantula, a lockbox ship, The Paradox class Temporal Dreadnought, that's a Lobby ship. And then if you don't want the ships, the items that you can get are 50 Master Keys, 2-pack of T6 coupons, or 10 Ultimate Tech upgrades. So let's go take a look at each of these ships real quick. The Herc Vedkrid is a really tanky ship. I think it's got one of the highest hull modifiers in the game, if not the highest, at 1.7. It's pretty high up there. There might be one or two that beat it. I don't remember, but it's really high. And it also is a full-on carrier with 2 hangar bays. And purchasing this means that you can get access to the Herc Swarmers account-wide, which are really good pets to use for support-based builds because they have Focused Assault on them. Focused Assault means the pets are putting a buff or a debuff on targets that when your allies shoot those targets, they're getting a damage boost. So a very popular set of pets to use on supported runs. And this ship itself can be a very good tank platform. It's not the best, but if you're looking for a tanky carrier, this would be a very good ship. It's got a Commander Engineer with command, 2 hangar bays, it's a 4-3 weapon setup, and it has this automated defense screen functionality built in. And basically what this does is as you take damage, it's going to build up stacks on whatever shield facing is taking damage. And once it builds up enough stacks, it gives you an immunity for a couple seconds on that shield facing. So it can be a very tanky ship. It's a bit niche, but definitely a bit interesting. Next up, we have the Tholian Tarantula Dreadnought Cruiser. This ship used to be a fairly popular tank, but it hasn't aged that well compared to the modern options we have for tanking. But it's still got a Commander Engineer there. Not that valuable nowadays. It's got a Lieutenant Commander, TAC with command, Lieutenant Universal with intel. It's a 4-4. It's got 1 hangar bay. Really, the reason you're picking up the Tarantula is the theme. You're looking to fly a big Tholian ship, and you want to use the Tholian Mesh Weavers. Like, it's got 1 hangar bay, it can use the Tholian Mesh Weavers. It does come with a console called the Tholian Web Cannon, which you see in this picture here. Basically, you charge that up, you can't do anything while it's charging. And once it shoots, anything that's hit by it in that cone there is going to have a Tholian web around it. It's a pretty fun console, but it's locked to the Tholian ships. So if you're big into the Tholian stuff, maybe consider this ship. It is a fun ship, and it's it hasn't aged well compared to modern tanking platforms, but it can still be built out as a fairly decent tank. And then the Paradox Temporal Dreadnought here. This is a 4-3 Science Dreadnought. It's got a Lieutenant Commander Universal with intel and a Lieutenant TAC with command. Secondary deflector, 1 hangar bay. It's an okay ship. It's certainly not the best Science Dreadnought we have in the game. It was released almost 7 years ago, but it's still a fairly decent ship. And if you're picking up the Choice Pack of Dread, I would just go for all 3 of the ships here. If you're getting the Choice Pack and you're picking 3 options, I would just pick the 3 ships up from this bundle. So next up, we have Out of This Wormhole, and this is going to go into B tier. A couple years ago, this may have went to A tier, but times have changed. So the Muds Out of This Wormhole Choice Pack has the Maquis Raider. That's a very good ship to get for the console it has, which is very popular for EPG builds. That console is the Plasma Storm module, and many of you have probably seen this in a TFO where someone calls in that big yellow tornado like you would see in the Badlands. That is this console. So this is very popular for science builds, and having this unlocked via the Smuds bundle means you have it on account-wide unlock. So that's a good pickup there. The Jem'Hadar Strike Ship is a very bad pick in the current state of the game. The legendary Jem'Hadar Attack Ship came out earlier in 2022, and it is far superior to both the Strike and Recon ship. And it has, the legendary one has the trait and console that this Strike ship would give you. So there's absolutely no reason to pick it up from a Muds bundle. The other ship here is the Ferengi Quark Marauder. This is a 5-3 Miracle Worker Cruiser. And it's not really that great of a ship, to be honest. Basically, if you pick this up, you're getting it because you want the T6 Decora unlocked account wide. So if you're looking to get it for the Ferengi aspect of it, it's a solid pickup, but there's not really much else positive to it other than its interior, which it does have that Ferengi freighter interior, which means you can easily access the exchange, bank, mail from anywhere just by going to your bridge. If I was picking up this bundle, I would go for the Maquis Raider, the Ferengi Quark Marauder, and then for the third option, I would go for the holographic DS9 Bridge Officers. And the only reason I would say to go for the Bridge Officers is because some of these can be really expensive on the exchange. For a while there, the Quark Bridge Officers were really expensive to acquire, and if you pick them up via this bundle, you'll have them unlocked. They will be account bound to you, so you won't be able to sell them, but you'll at least have a bunch of the DS9 crew unlocked as bridge officers for your alts and any characters on your account if that's something you're into. Next up, we have the Into Darkness bundle. This is immediately going into S tier. This is probably the single best MUDs bundle in the game. So this has 4 different ship options in it. There is the Kelvin Timeline Vengeance. Of course, I don't need to talk much about the Vengeance. It's a very popular ship within the game. It is, in my opinion, the weakest ship offering in this specific bundle, though. But still, this is a very solid ship and is going to be a major draw to this bundle for a lot of people to get that unlocked account wide. Then the second ship option is the Kelvin Timeline Starships, and what's big about this is it gets you 3 different ships. So by choosing the Kelvin Timeline Starship unlock from the Kelvin bundle here, you're getting the Kelvin Connie, the D4X, and the Talaru unlocked account wide. And that's pretty nice. The Kelvin Connie's nice. All of these ships here, the D4X, the Talaru, they're all really good ships. They may not be meta, but they all look nice. They actually have custom bridge interiors that are really detailed. They're from a time in the game where the devs actually went through and made custom bridges for ships. So see if there's a picture of that on the wiki here. Apparently not. But they're all really unique ships, really fun, so that's a very, very good pick and should be your first thing that you pick from this bundle. Then we have the Kelvin Heavy Destroyer Ship Pack. This gives you the Kelvin Einstein and the Kelvin D7. These are both lockbox ships, so traditionally they would be very expensive to acquire. They're okay. They both have basically identical stats. It's just the D7 has a battle cloak, the Fed one does not, so that's a D7 and the Einstein that you would get unlocked from that bundle. And I should mention too, if you want to look at any of the stats of these ships a bit closer, all of the MUDs bundles are going to be linked down in the description below if you want to take a closer look at any of them. Then the last ship that you can get from the MUDs bundle, or from the MUDs Into Darkness bundle, is the Vulcan Experimental Scout ship. Now, this ship isn't really that amazing. It's a science scout ship, which are becoming quite common nowadays. And it's not the best one that we have in the game, but it's still pretty decent. But what's really nice about this one is that it unlocks the red matter capacitor device account wide. It's going to get you the eject red matter console, which isn't the best, but it can be fun to use. But most importantly, getting the Vulcan Experimental Scout ship will mean that you can get basically an infinite amount of these quad microphoton torpedo launchers on your account. And you may have to reclaim the ship a couple times to do so, but these are just reskinned Kelvin photon torpedoes. They're not great damage-wise, but they're really fun to use. And you can run multiple of these on a build. So I've seen people put 4 to 5 of these on a build before, and it doesn't do much damage, but it looks really, really cool. So that might be something to consider there, because having those Kelvin torps that you could just reclaim over and over, that's pretty damn nice. So if I was buying this bundle, and I was going for the choice pack, I would go for the Kelvin Timeline starships first, the Vulcan Experimental Scout Vessel second, and I know that the Vengeance is a huge draw, but the Vengeance is a Lobby ship. The heavy destroyers here are lockbox ships, and they're much more expensive for me to acquire in the game than a Vengeance would. So for me, I would go with the Kelvin Timeline starships, the Kelvin Heavy Destroyers, and the Vulcan Experimental Scout ships if I was doing the choice pack. But this is very easily a bundle that you could actually justify, in my opinion, going for the Mega Pack for, because the items are also pretty decent. You get 2 T6 coupons, 9 T6X upgrades, an Epic Phoenix token, and 50 account-bound Master Keys. So it's actually like the entire bundle is pretty solid. And either way, choice pack or mega, this is a really high value bundle and is definitely something that you should consider. Next up, we have the In Command choice pack. So for this one, this is going to go into A tier. And this is a very tank and torpedo focused bundle, I would say. You've got the Section 31 Command Heavy Battle Cruiser, which is a very popular ship. The one issue with this ship, though, is that it has a swarm mechanic on it, which basically most of your hull is like a drone swarm that you can deploy. And the issue is that when you deploy them and go into combat, it will make your hitbox much larger over time, and it can make it difficult for your teammates to select the enemies because they'll keep clicking on you instead. So it's an interesting ship. It's a very good platform for torpedoes, tanking. I mean, plenty of people do perfectly fine with it with energy weapons. Like, it's a really good platform and definitely is something that you would want to get from this bundle. Just has that one issue with the swarmer mechanic that I don't think they're ever going to fix. The next ship that I would go for is the Sona Command Science Vessel. This ship is not going to be for everyone, but if you're someone that likes the Sona ships, you know, this has a console that works in the Sona console set. Unfortunately, that's bound to the Sona ships. And more importantly, this ship has the kick 'em while they're down trait. And if you're using a build that has a ton of control abilities, you can get this trait to get you up to 25% crit chance. It takes a bit to build around it, but it's a very solid trait, and if you figure out how to take advantage of it, it can get you a lot of crit chance. Then we have the Alachi Sheshar. This is a promo ship, but it is extremely dated. It's from 2015. And the only draw to this is the starship trait Torpedo Barrage. And basically, when you fire a high yield one, or when you fire a high yield, it will give you another high yield one ability to use for another torpedo. If we had more starship traits, this is a trait that would be interesting, or more starship trait slots, I should say. But there's just not enough room for it on any of the meta or even budget torp builds nowadays. So as neat as it is, there's just better traits to slot now. And then the Voth Rampart. This is a really fun ship. You can run this as a torpedo DPS platform, or you can run this as a tank. It'd be perfectly fine in either roles. And this thing is a 4/4 with 2 hangar bays. It's not going to be for everyone, but this is a ship that I was flying quite a bit last year, and I had quite a bit of fun with it. 2 hangar bays on a torp boat was quite interesting. It caused many enemies to disappear from the map due to the despawn issues, but overall, very interesting platform. I think it looks cool, and if you're into the Voth stuff, then you may be a fan of that ship. So for that bundle, if I was picking it up today, I would go for the Section 31, the Sona, and the Voth Rampart as the 3 options from the choice pack. If you didn't want one of the ships, then go for the T6 coupons. None of the other items are really worth it to me. Next up, we have the Secret Intel Choice Pack, and for this one, I'm going to put it into B tier. The Secret Intel Choice Pack does have 3 ships that you would want to go out and get, but the issue is it's not for the ships. The reason people get the Secret Intel Choice Pack is for the starship traits that some of these ships have. So the Section 31 Intel Science Destroyer, it's a neat little ship, but it's not really that amazing. But the reason people go for this ship is the Exodus Active Probat Starship trait. This is useful in PvP or in solo scenarios. I used this for all of my solo runs last year. And when you hit intel abilities or jam sensors, it's giving you some stealth, some Cat 2 weapon damage bonus, and some control expertise. It's a really good trait for solo runs or PvP, but that's about it. Can also help in randoms if you want to make sure nothing is shooting at you and is shooting your randoms instead. Could be useful in that scenario, but a bit expensive to get for that. Next up, we have the Sona Intel Battle Cruiser. This is a Lobby ship, and people get this for the Subspatial Warheads trait. This trait is basically a must-have for torpedo builds. It is a core part of those builds, and basically every time you fire off high yield or transport warhead, so basically just high yield because nobody sane uses transport warhead, you are getting a large damage boost from isolated tears that will spawn on the target and deal quite a bit of damage to them and nearby foes. Very huge amount of damage comes from this trait. It is absolutely a must-have for a torpedo build. And then we have the Nequej. This has the Ceaseless Momentum Starship trait, which gives you a damage boost when firing torpedoes, and makes it or improves the recharge time of your torpedoes so that you can fire them faster. So it's not a must-have, and most torp builds don't slot it anymore, but it can be really good, especially on like a torp build that is going into like public queues or battle zones and stuff like that. Then you may benefit from that recharge time reduction. And the Alachi Sheshar Intel Dreadnought Cruiser faces the same issues the Command one had. It just isn't worth it. The trait, you just don't have room for this trait in the current state of the game. So, Section 31, Sona, and the Nequej, if you go for this, if you're going for this bundle, you're getting it for the traits. So, get the 3 ships that have the traits that are going to be useful. Next up, we have the Lost in the Delta Quadrant Choice Pack, and this one is going to go into B tier. So this has the Vodwar Juggernaut. This is the best energy weapon platform in the game. This was developed in part by Cryptic Spartan when she was working at Cryptic, and this ship was literally designed to be like the meta energy weapon DPS platform. And that hasn't changed, so this ship is the single best energy weapon platform in the game, or CSV, even like Beam Overload. You know, you'd probably want to use this ship to max your damage. Just a very good platform overall. Very, very, very large amount of firepower with this ship. The Krenim Imperium warship is not that great of a ship nowadays. This came out in 2015, and this was the meta DPS ship to fly in late 2015 and early 2016. But, you know, it's like 7 years ago now. So this ship doesn't really have much going for it in the current state of the game, and I can't really recommend it. The Undine Kawavi is actually a really solid tank platform. We use this as our tank of choice in many of the supported runs when doing DPS records. The reason for that is because this ship can use Cold-Hearted without using Ox to Bat. Cold-Hearted is a starship trait off of one of the older Breen ships, the Raider I can't remember the name of, but it debuffs things when you hit Ox to Bat or pilot abilities. And this is a tanking platform that has a commander command and a lieutenant commander pilot. So very good tanking platform, especially for supported type runs. Also very maneuverable. And then the Hazari Destroyer. This came out in 2014. This was the very first tier 6 Lobby ship. Its only spec seat is Lieutenant Intel. So if you're getting this bundle, you're getting the Vodwa Juggernaut, the Kawavi, and 2 T6 coupons. If you don't want the coupons, you could go for the keys, but you can always buy Master Keys. You can't always buy T6 coupons. So Vodwa Juggernaut, Kawavi, T6 coupons. That's what you do if you get this bundle. Next up, we have the Muds Carried Away Choice Pack. So for this one, I'm going to go with A tier. So these ships are all okay. Like they're nothing to go super crazy about, but there's a lot of really fun ships in this bundle. The Jem'Hadar Dreadnought, if you're looking to do a themed Gem Dread carrier, like you can use the attack ship pets on this and it looks really awesome. It's got a decent setup if you want to do torpedoes on it. It can do a little bit of tanking, but it's not really built super heavily for tanking. But you can do torps on it really well. Energy weapons. It's an okay platform. The Herald Quas is probably the weakest ship in here. It's a 4/4 cruiser that's got a lieutenant command and a lieutenant commander intel. It's got 2 hangar bays. All of these ships have 2 hangar bays, but it just isn't really anything to write home about. There's nothing really special about it other than the visual appearance. The Tholian Joragumo is one of the more interesting picks from this bundle. The Tholian Joragumo is an extremely good pick if you're looking to set up a support for boosting energy weapon players. The Tholian Joragumo would be able to run 2 bays of the Tholian Meshweaver pets, which are some of the best debuffing pets in the game to debuff enemies to help your teammates get more damage. So very good platform for that type of build, and this ship also has a fire at will extension trait called Precision Multi-Targeting. When you hit target subsystem abilities, you will get fire at will 1 for 10 seconds. So pretty interesting trait there if you're looking for alternative ways to extend your fire at will uptime. And the Joragumo, if you're ever wanting to set up a support to boost energy weapon players, it's a very good platform for that. Just note, if you're boosting torpedo players, the pets do have torpedoes, these Tholian Meshweavers, so they're not going to be the best pick for boosting a torp user. But for energy weapons, really good platform. And then we have the Zindi Aquatic Briostris. This is the T6 version of the Narcine. And this has a lieutenant command and a lieutenant commander intel. This is another 4/3, 2 hangar bays. The trait and console from this aren't really that amazing, but you know, this is a ship that I'd recommend for those of you looking for something a little different to fly. It's a really fun platform. It's a ship that I've personally enjoyed quite a bit over the years. I have it on multiple characters. It's just a really fun ship, and I think most people I know that have picked it up have enjoyed it quite a bit. So my recommendation from this bundle would be Gem Dread, the Tholian Joragumo, and the Briostris. If you don't want the Briostris or the Gem Dread, the T6 coupons or the Epic token would also be a perfectly viable option. And next we have Primary Faction Choice Pack. This is going into the C tier. The only reason that you're going to pick up the Primary Faction Choice Pack is because of the Delkina. The Delkina is one of the best energy weapon and torpedo weapon platforms in the game. It is it's very versatile. It's got a commander command and a lieutenant commander intel. It's a 5/2 with an experimental weapon. It's got a hangar bay. It's got a Romulan battle cloak. It's just a very, very good ship. It's very versatile for doing damage, and I think those of you that really like Romulan ships and want one of the best Romulan ships unlocked account wide, you know, would want to consider this Primary Faction Choice Pack. Now, for the other ships in this bundle, they're all quite a bit underwhelming. The Jem'Hadar Recon ship runs into the same issues the Strike one did, in that the legendary Jem'Hadar attack ship is a thing now, and it beats the crap out of this Recon ship. The Recon doesn't really have anything that the legendary one doesn't. The legendary one gets the trait and console that this ship has, so The recon ship is an easy pass. The Crossfield Science Spearhead, that has a legendary version in the 10th anniversary bundle. And the Sarcophagus Dreadnought Cruiser or Carrier is the only other ship in here that you may want to consider. The ship itself is a bit underwhelming. It's a 4-3, 2 hangar bays, Lieutenant Commander Command, and an Ensign Miracle Worker. The trait on it is Honored Dead, which is a good budget tank trait. That's the issue here, is that it's a budget tank trait. And if you're dumping this type of money into the game, you can probably afford the better tank traits. The console off of this ship is multi-target tractor arrays, which is okay on some science builds. But that's a bit more niche. So if I picked this bundle up today, I would go for the Delkina, the Sarcophagus, and then probably the 50 Master Keys. Yeah, definitely the 50 Master Keys. So it's a fairly underwhelming bundle, being that the Delkina is really the only big attraction in this bundle. The Sarcophagus is okay, but again, you know, it's got a good budget tank trait on it. And this ship and the Smuds bundle isn't exactly a budget option. And now we have the Muds Fighter Pilot Choice Pack. And I know some of you don't like Pilot, but I'm going to go into A tier with this. And if they ever revamped Pilot, I might bump it up to S tier. So I talked about this bundle in the bundle breakdown that I did about a month ago. And my recommendation was the Deimos, which is the main attraction of this bundle because it's got the Immolating Phaser Lance console. The Immolating Phaser Lance is a very good console. It's the best Phaser Lance that exists in the game. It's got good passives for phaser damage, a good bit of shield pen there. And if you time the console right on a forward-facing build, you can get a lot of damage out of it. So that's a very good ship to get for the console. The Lost Serena is interesting, you know, for its dual commander setup, but that's about it. Like, the main attraction of the Lost Serena is that it's the ship from Star Trek Picard Season 1. The Quajon Pilot Frigate is another interesting ship here. The stats on this one are, the bridge officer setup's a bit different. It's got a commander pilot and a lieutenant command, 5-3. It's got a Federation battle cloak. It's got pilot maneuvers, of course. It's got cruiser commands, and it has raider flanking. So this is a ship that has a lot of gimmicks on it, and it's pretty fun to fly. It's a bit interesting. It's not going to be the top performer. None of these pilot ships are, but it's definitely a fun ship to mess around with. It has some really neat gimmicks to it, like the ability to hit a button and you flip 180 degrees. Really fun ship. And then there's the Undine Chirax Biowarship. This ship would be a good pickup for someone who got the Lost in Delta Quadrant to bundle also, and they wanted to get the Undine console set. This ship is okay. It's got a commander, pilot, and lieutenant commander intel. 4-4, can run dual cannons. So it's a 4-4 escort destroyer type ship, which is going to be a major turnoff for some of you. But the trade-off of this is an interesting trait for support type builds where you can boost up your teammates by hitting attack, power, and omega or pilot abilities. And the console off of this thing is that anti-proton lance that you see the Undine use sometimes, but it doesn't do that much damage. But, you know, if you're looking for a gimmick to mess around with, it may be interesting to you. So in the end, I think when I did my breakdown video, I settled on the Deimos, Lost Serena, and the Quajon as the three that I would go for. But honestly, this is a bundle where if Pilot was better, like if they went through, revamped Pilot spec and made it a little bit better, I might consider the entire Mega Bundle as a viable option. But for right now, I think the choice pack with the Deimos, Lost Serena, and Quajon is the way to go here. And that is all of the Muds bundles. So I think most of you would probably agree with most of the decisions I made here. You know, if you disagree, you know, feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. The Into Darkness bundle is just a really great value for what it has. Like the fact that you can consider the mega bundle as an option is crazy given the cost. But there's enough in that bundle that I think you could maybe justify it in some cases. The Stealing Time bundle, like I said earlier, is the only one that I've actually went out and purchased myself. So definitely, definitely a solid pickup. The science ship, getting the 3 science ships from it, even though they're the same thing, just getting the 3 Admiralty cards from it's pretty nice. Same for the Destroyer. And the Amari's a bit interesting, but for the rest of these, I think these are I think there's some interesting bundles out there. It's just some of these other bundles, some of these lower ranked ones here, just haven't really aged that well. The ships in them haven't aged that well over the years for sure. But that is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. And as more Muds bundles get introduced to the game, I'll try to mention where I would place them in this tier list in the breakdown videos that I do. But again, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. If you have any questions or comments, if you agree or disagree with my decisions, feel free to drop them down below. But that is going to be it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you guys around.